Hey guys, this is Wildcat Chris Harris, TNA original and one half of 6-time TNA World Tag Team Champions, America's Most Wanted. You are listening to the TNA Cross the Line podcast.
TNA Wrestling, Cross the Line.
And we're back with bonus episode number 7 of the TNA Cross the Line podcast. I am Bob Colling Jr. And with me, as always, is Dallas Gridley. But once again, no one cares about Dallas Gridley being here because we have a special guest, a 7-time NWA-TNA Tag Team Champion. So it's just perfect that this is bonus episode number 7. Wildcat Chris Harris. Chris, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me. Hey, Dallas is okay with me, man, because I see the background there. I see a nice action figure that's standing out.
That's the running joke. Dallas is the TNA diehard, and I tend to be more pessimistic about some stuff, and he just loves everything.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit of both, I guess.
Yeah, I'm definitely the diehard, the TNA fan. I've liked it for years, and yeah, I'll tell the story quick now too, because me and Bob's friendship actually almost kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? TNA kind of intertwined in it, because when I first met Bob, it was probably Bob, 10, 11 years ago?
2012, yeah. 2011.
Yeah. We were at like a neighbor's birthday party, and I forget if it was like a Thursday or something, and I go, hey, okay, I gotta go, wrestling's on. And he's like, wait, what you Impact? And I was like, hell yeah, I'm watching Impact.
Yeah.
And I bailed on our friends, and I went to go watch Impact.
What year was this?
I think it was 2011.
And you were watching the current product, 2011 product.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and okay. I found out about TNA probably actually around the time where we're at on the podcast, which is just about at Victory Road. 2004. Okay. And so I remember my cousin called me on the phone, and he's like, hey dude, Jeff Hardy's on this new wrestling. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, that's crazy. So I turned it on, and I immediately got hooked. And basically TNA, I think, was the kickstart for me to really get into alternatives of wrestling and eventually independent wrestling and all that kind of stuff. So I love it. I love TNA. It's my favorite.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it had. We have our critics, but yeah, it was great. I mean, we had some great times, and I thought the product was really good. So yeah, thank you for the support, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I joke.
The Victory Road, was that when we first started doing the monthly pay-per-views?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the first one in November 7th.
But we can just get right into it because we do have several questions for you. Before you got into TNA, I remember going back and watching old Nitros, and I remember seeing Chris Harris as part of the New Blood Security, and I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? So I've always wondered, how did that come about? And then were there any connections that you got there that translated into getting into TNA originally in 2002?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some crossing there. I got into it because I started getting more into. I started traveling to Nashville, started doing some indies down there, and was pretty much that was the majority of my working was in Nashville. I was traveling there every week, and get my name out there. Storm was also a hometown hero there. I was working my way up as we were kind of like the 2 top baby faces. So we were working for Burt Prentice, and he had the connections with WCW, which was actually Terry Taylor, and they were looking to bring in some security. And I guess part of the deal, we were also going to get some matches. So yeah, I was part of that. It was almost like a different group every week that they were bringing in. But I was one of the main guys. So I was getting in there every week. So I was making decent money even doing that, but it was regularly. So I was getting something every week. They would kind of intertwine a few of the guys, but I was there a lot. Storm was there a lot. And then we would also we would do security on Nitro and Thunder. And then they had their WCW Saturday night show and then WCW Worldwide, which was on Sundays. So we were getting our matches on there and also doing the security. So, yeah, I mean, it was a great foot in the door. The only downside to it, I guess, was we were there in the year 2000. So you can only imagine what was going on behind the scenes. We're just happy to be there, but behind in the office, things are falling apart and we're just months away from going down. So I was there pretty much the whole year of 2000 and signed a contract in October. So yeah, for somebody like me, man, it was so exciting. The big two was WWF and WCW, and I finally signed a contract. And 6 months later, the company's out of business or sold. And so, but I did meet. I got close with Jeff Jarrett there, Terry Taylor, obviously. That's where I met Mike Tenay, Scott Hudson. Jimmy Hart was taking care of a lot of the Saturday night shows and the Worldwide. He was there for a lot of that. So even back then, I'm very thankful that guys like Jimmy Hart, Mike Tenay, Scott Hudson, those guys, and especially Terry Taylor, he's the one that signed me to the contract. But I was very fortunate that they saw something in me, and that just carried over. So when Jeff started putting everything together, and had a lot of people from WCW all the way, not just the talent, but even behind the scenes. I mean, he's still around today. I believe he's doing the AEW. So Jeff, because he'd worked with so many of the guys and trusted them, and think about it, a lot of those guys were out of work because WWF had everything. Hey, so yeah, a lot of crossover there, but yeah, when later on in 2002, when the rumblings of Jeff and TNA were coming about, I think Jeff really took a look at Storm and I, and Storm, I think he had known him since they're both from Nashville. I think he knew him already, but that definitely helped at least get the eyes on us to get hired.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And so we know that you and James Storm had like some matches in the Nashville area that really probably led to your signing in TNA early on. And they ended up putting you guys together within like the first, 2 or 3, I think it was the second pay-per-view.
Second show, yeah.
Yeah. And so on the first show, you actually made an appearance in the Gauntlet for the Gold match. So in that Battle Royal for like the title. Did you expect to be in a long-term tag team with him after you appeared in the Gauntlet for the Gold, or did you even want to be a tag team wrestler kind of going into the company?
No, going in, I mean, the honest answer would be no. I mean, you still think, on the indies, I was primarily singles, so you think going in, the big company, you're going to be a big single star. I think Storm was thinking the same thing. So we were just happy to be a part of the first show, no matter what we were doing. I think Storm was in kind of a throwaway tag team, but he was still on it, and I was, the Gauntlet for the Gold was a big match for that night. So I was very happy to be in it, just to be part of it. But then, yeah, the second show, which was actually taped that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they put us together in a tag team, and they kind of did a little backstage skit vignette to put us together, make it kind of random. We went out, we had our match, won, and they just kind of went from there. So no, I didn't expect that at all. Although I did have enough of the smarts, the mentality to where if whatever the company throws at you, you just try to take it and run with it. So that's kind of what Storm and I did when we did the first match, and we were friends, kind of like you had brought up. We had wrestled each other numerous times on the indies, especially around the Nashville area. So we were very familiar with each other. We were friends. We hung out. And for them to put us together, we were okay with that. We just didn't know what the direction is. And to be honest with you, I don't know if TNA knew. They had so many things going on at the very beginning stages that I believe they knew they wanted us part of the company. They thought we had talent. They just weren't sure what to do with it. So I think it was kind of like throw them together and let's see where it goes. And so Storm and I had the right attitude and thought, look, if this is what they're giving us, let's get together. And if they're going to see what we can do, then let's be the best tag team out there. And that's kind of the mentality we had.
I think that's obviously the right mindset. You probably wouldn't have lasted as many years as you did if you didn't just roll with the punches. You are a 6-time tag team champion with James Storm, and obviously the first ever NWA tag team champions were actually AJ Styles and Jerry Lynn. So this is more of a hindsight question. Were you guys maybe at all disappointed that you don't have that distinction of being the first tag team champions of the company, considering the historic run that you guys would eventually have in the company?
Oh, no, not at all. I think they, to get it off the ground, they had to do something that they thought would capture the attention, I guess. Did you say AJ and Jerry Lynn were the first?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I would have preferred to go with more of a regular tag team. Those were pretty much two great, talented singles guys thrown together. So I would have preferred, to be able to, this many years later, say that, one of those great, significant tag teams were the first. But that's what they wanted to go with, and they did. No, I don't, because that's what Storm and I would have been at the time. We had no name. People hadn't heard of us. So to throw us together as a tag team, we'd have kind of been just what I'm talking about. We would have just been random put out there. So no, I'm glad we had at least. I mean, it wasn't that long after that. I was within the first year that we had the title. So, but I think that just goes to show that we were making a difference in the early years. So I'm glad we had a little bit to get under our belt and got a little bit of experience together and had the chemistry, and we were getting people's attention. So I think TNA saw that, and that's why they switched directions to where we did. But no, not having that distinction. No, I mean, think about what we did have. I mean, we had the longest reign for quite a number of years. I believe it was just taken over just a few years back by Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, the North. So we had the longest reign for a number of years, and I still believe, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I think we still have the most reigns with 6. So yeah, I'm not sure about that, but yeah, we definitely made our mark in the company. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think yeah, and we're going to talk a lot about a lot of the different other distinguishes things that you guys have done, tons of historic matches and all that kind of stuff. So we'll touch on a bunch of that. Now, within that first year, you guys ended up doing a really big feud with the New Church, with Father James Mitchell, Brian Lee, Slash, all that kind of stuff. Do you think that doing that feud with veterans like Brian Lee and James Mitchell positively ended up improving your work early on within the company?
Definitely. Not only were those guys veterans, but they made us adapt to a different style. I think we were getting the attention with our wrestling ability. People were noticing that these were exciting matches, and these guys know how to wrestle, and we were trying to throw the entertainment. We were just getting attention with that. But when we started with Brian Lee and Slash, yeah, I'd listen to those guys because we learned a lot from them. But they had a downright brawling fighting style.
Yeah.
And we kind of had to adapt to that, which we did. That brought that out in us. So we showed that not only could we wrestle with the best, we could stand with the high flyers as well. But even when we're out there to brawl and it turns into a fight, we can hold our own with them. And those are some crazy guys. So it brought out the best in us, man. And I think that actually helped elevate us because people saw, man, these guys, they can adapt to any style, even this crazy crap.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and like you said, the brawling too. I think once we started, it was like as the feud kept heating up, it was like you guys wouldn't even do your entrance. You just book it to the ring, and everyone start kicking ass, laying in the punches, all that kind of good stuff. Ringside. So yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, if it was intense, we were just ready to jump on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it was like one of the first intense feuds where you would see it on the card, and we were like, we know that's gonna be at least good for us to compare to.
And that's what we want.
Yeah, that was great. As we come to the end of 2002, Vince Russo finally revealed himself as being one of the masked man, involved with Jeff Jarrett and whatnot. So going into 2003, I'm just curious what your mindset was with Vince Russo. I'm sure he was involved backstage prior, but have it to be publicly known to the viewer. What was your mindset with Vince Russo and the concept of Sports Entertainment Extreme? And then also, did you get any sense, or maybe when did you get a sense that the idea of splitting you and James Storm was maybe on the horizon in his mind?
Well, I was excited Vince Russo was part of it. I know he catches a lot of flack, but the guy has good ideas. He just he has bad ones too. So it's just a matter of we gotta try everything and see what sticks. So I did enjoy working with Vince Russo. He's very creative. He was very helpful as far as me. A lot of the singles stuff I did. He was very helpful and instrumental in that. But Storm and I, we were trying to ride the wave and going into 2003. I mean, it's, we're entering into the second year. So we were what we were doing was working. So we just wanted to keep doing it. And like I said, I think the feud with the New Church was elevating us. Having Russo part of it, I think was helping the product. His Sports Entertainment Extreme, I mean, that was different. Think about it. I mean, that's edgy, which is what Russo's all about. So coming up with the SEX initials and Sports Entertainment Extreme, I mean, that's very creative. And he was looking to add to that group. I was okay with all that, and then of course that led to us with Triple X. But I wasn't a fan of the idea of splitting us up. I mean, because that kind of falls in Russo's lap too. He's one of those guys that if you have a successful tag team, the first thing he thinks of is, okay, well, let's split them up and have them feud, and then we'll see what happens. Well, unfortunately, when we see what happens, a lot of times you get lost in the shuffle. So when even though we were new, and we're kind of taught to work but keep your mouth shut, we saw that we had something special. And when there was talk of splitting us up, we decided to open our mouth. And we went to them and said, look, we really think we can do a lot more with this, and I think it would be a mistake to split us up at this time. And we were pretty strong about it. And usually, a lot of times, what the company wants, company gets. But thank God they listened to us, and I think we proved that we had a lot more life left in us. But that was an early idea, and I think they teased it a little bit. If you guys just watched it recently, then probably more than I do. But yeah, there was a lot of tease in there, but in the end, they kept us together, and I'm really glad they did.
Yeah, definitely. I remember there was one segment in particular that I remember making us laugh so much watching it. And there was like the sex locker room, which was in the back of the asylum, in like it looked like a closet. It was like a bathroom almost. And you're sitting in there and you got the sex shirt on, and James Storm comes in and he's like, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "I'm just hanging out with my friends." And it's
my point was, I guess I was coming at it like, because every so often you go behind the curtain kind of thing, and I was trying to give my opinion of, hey, you can wrestle guys and still go have a beer with them afterwards, which of course we all did anyway. But to say it on camera, that was kind of the beef. So Storm's like, "You're hanging out with the enemy." I'm like, "Hey, why can't I hang out with all the guys?" So it was kind of a little clash there. So I thought that brought something a little interesting to it, because by that point, people did know that, a lot of the wrestlers hang out. And so, yeah, it was just something a little different. So, yeah, there was a little tease in there.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some teases, and even not a tease, but you guys ended up working with the Rock and Roll Express during the sex storyline as well, which is, I mean, had to be huge for you guys, I would imagine.
Oh, we love that. I mean, those are one of the main teams that we watched growing up and that we had learned from. So, I mean, you couldn't get a better babyface tag team out there. So, yeah, so first we were getting the rub from them. But then, yeah, they quickly, who would ever imagine the Rock and Roll Express would turn on tradition?
Yeah,
and,
right.
Go with Sports Entertainment Extreme. So, yeah, they did a little turn on us, and we had known Rock and Roll Express before that, but I don't. Yeah, that was the first time I think we worked as a tag team with them. So, to be able to work with those guys was incredible. And of course, we say it's out of their element, although they're such pros. They can be heels too. So. It was great to get to work. We had a couple matches with them there.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. It was cool, and I mean, they're still like working now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's I don't even get it. I don't. Ricky Morton's a machine.
Yeah,
it really is.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna chime in.
No, you're good.
So you mentioned your coming matches here with Triple X, because I mean, once again, that's kind of part of the Sports Entertainment Extreme storyline. That's how they got their name and all that kind of stuff. So over the course of the next several months, you guys ended up having this super heated rivalry with them, and it climaxed at the first ever steel cage match on June 25th, 2003. So what was the feeling between you and, I guess, all the guys really, heading into such a big time match in company history?
Well, we were honored to even have that spot for TNA to put us in that spot and trust us to have the first cage match in TNA. I believe it was the first one, right?
Yeah,
it was.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, to have the first cage match in TNA, I mean, and think about that. How many? There's really not many tag team cage matches to begin with. So for that to be the first one to trust the tag team, I mean, that's saying that the company had a lot of faith in us. So, yeah, and of course we had worked with them so many times right before that, like you said, leading up to it. We had great chemistry with them, but that's just the time that you got to turn it up a notch. No matter how many times you work, putting it in a cage definitely changes a lot of things. So, but we got in there. We were there with Daniels. I always say Daniels he was one of those ring generals, and Elix, has an unbelievable amount of talent. Low Key was part of that as well, just not the cage match, but Low Key is very talented as well. So no matter what the 2 out of 3 combination we had great matches with them. And then when you get that cage match, man, it's time to turn it up, and we gotta pull everything out. So for a long time, that was the match people talked about, but once we had the 6 sides of steel, it's almost like people forgot about that first cage match. But I tell you what, I'd hold that cage match up to anything, man. I still think that's one of the great ones.
Absolutely. I was just gonna say too. I'm pretty sure that ended up being our favorite match of like all 2003 as we watched through like all the shows. At least I think it was. I think it was mine. I mean, watching it all, it was like, damn, that cage match still really stands out. I mean, it was really, really good. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, a little fun fact about that. So it is. I think it was also mine.
Pretty sure.
And yeah, and what's crazy is that we had recording difficulties, so we lost the episode, so we had to watch it again, and it was still as good. We were still like, well, it doesn't even matter. Like,
yeah,
it was really great.
Nothing wrong with part 2.
That's right. So obviously, the feud with Triple X is pretty well known amongst the TNA fan base, diehards, however you want to word it. But one that we both, Dallas and I, feel like is severely underrated and doesn't get the recognition is your series of matches with Johnny Swinger and Simon Diamond, which that started back on July 9, 2003. What are some of your memories working with Swinger and Diamond? And also that feud included, I believe, at least in TNA, the first time you would team up with Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because in that whole period of time, New Church was first, and then the matches with Triple X were incredible. But a lot of times that does get overlooked. I did not know a lot of their history. I didn't watch a lot of ECW, but I certainly knew their names and knew they had a great tag team reputation. So when they were bringing them in, I mean, the fun fact of this little bit of the inside, I a lot of times, especially once we were champions, they would just bring in tag teams, so for us to beat and to continue with the titles. I think that was what they were going to do with those guys, and I've talked to both those guys a lot about that. But I think it was going to be a one-off. They were going to bring them in. They had a good name to them. Come in, and America's Most Wanted comes out on top, and just another great team for us to beat. But it would have to go back to that first match that we had such great chemistry in the first match, and I think the match was just so good, and we made it very competitive. It was not one-sided at all. We had them believing that Simon and Swinger could actually be the champs. So I think after that, I don't know the timeline. You'd have to ask them, but they were signed to a contract not long after that because of the performance that they did. So man, yeah, we just continued that on, and they did in fact actually wind up beating us for the titles at one point. We got Glenn Gilberti in there as a third man for them. So yeah, why not go and grab the American Dream to be our partner? So yeah, that was, of course, just like we were talking about with the Rock and Roll Express, to be able to be aligned with Dusty Rhodes, man. I mean, come on, that's just a thrill, man. And so we had some 6-man tags. It was always fun to have Dusty a part of that. We always talked about how Dusty and Dustin were like the honorary members of America's Most Wanted because we did so many 6-mans with them. But yeah, I loved both those guys, and yeah, we had a lot of fun, and I thought the storyline was great. But yeah, those are some of my favorite matches with Johnny Swinger and Simon Diamond.
Yeah, I mean, like Bob said, watching those, it was that I feel like those series of matches, it was like you truly never knew who was going to win. It was always so close, and then you did there's like a rawhide strap match and like a tag team bull rope match and all that kind of stuff all involved. Yeah. I mean, so adding these different stipulations onto our already great matches, it was truly one of the best feuds of 2003, especially. And like Bob said, unfortunately, it gets overlooked a little bit too much, I think. But I mean,
we had to make sure we got in there that we were going to be able to strap Glenn Gilberti. That was the payoff.
there you
had
go.
to put that in there. But yeah, no matter what, like you said, no matter what type of match we were having, it really played a part in that. So it was a lot of fun, man. So yeah,
that's awesome. And kind of going off of the American Dream, you guys ended up being part of the TNA's essentially the first War Games match. It was the Wednesday Bloody Wednesday match on August 20th, 2003. So did you think that solidified you that you were a priority in TNA at this point, being part of such a major match? And also kind of how is structuring essentially a War Games style match different than your normal tag team matches that you would do?
Oh, well, I'll have to think back to some strategy there. We definitely did feel like we were part of the main core of TNA. What we had just talked about, being the first tag team in a first cage match, that was really big. And then we were finding out on a 2-hour show. Of course, the main focus is going to revolve around the heavyweight championship. So that's going to take place in a lot of the main events. But I noticed that there was a lot of those 2-hour events, the pay-per-views, where we would start off the show. And I take a lot of pride into that because a lot of people don't realize, they call it, curtain jerker or something like that. But you have to start every show off with something exciting that's going to get the people's attention and keep them. So when they would put us in those matches, I took a lot of pride into that we were the first match out there, and they trusted us enough to know that no matter who they were throwing us out there with, they were going to get a good match out of us. But yeah, I was feeling pretty good about that. And then, yeah, it's almost like, that's one of your you watch it as a fan, those War Games matches, and you just dream about being a part of that sometimes. So yeah, I loved being a part of that. Yeah, it is a total different strategy because once you get in there, you don't make tags. So you're not putting together a tag team match. You got a 4-man team, and I think we went out there. We took turns going in, right? It didn't just start off with you guys. So
right.
So yeah, you just have to strategize as far as who can last the longest, and who you put out there first, and then save a heavy hitter at the end to come in and do cleanup, so to speak. So I love being a part of that. You of course we couldn't call it the War Games, but it felt like a war, and that's what you want to go into, and you want to give the people that sense that we're 8 guys going in and get ready to battle and just knock the hell out of each other. And we even called it Wednesday, Bloody Wednesday. So they knew it was going to be a bloody battle, and that's what we gave them.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's crazy because I have it pulled up here too, but looking at who was in the match, we haven't watched it in Bob, it's been over a year now. But so you, James Storm, D'Lo Brown, Jeff Jarrett, and Raven, and you guys defeated AJ Styles, Daniels, Swinger, Shane Douglas, and Simon Diamond, and Eric Watts was the referee. It's wild.
Wow, man! Oh,
it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In one ring, not even a 2.
In one, yeah.
Yeah, I wish we'd have had the 2, but yeah, throwing 10 guys in one ring, man, it's going to get chaotic. You almost have to expect that.
Absolutely.
Kind of another tag team, at least initially, where you guys have had, and when I say countless, this is an understatement, countless memorable matches, was with the Naturals, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. Your first outing with them, at least in TNA, was September 24th, 2003, and it aired on Explosion, which Scott D'Amore, please somehow find all that Explosion footage. We're still waiting for it.
We really need to see some of it.
Brian Turner is releasing some over on YouTube for us, and he's a friend of the show. So keep on finding that footage and hopefully be on there. So you guys had countless memorable matches, both in the Tennessee area, TNA, other companies. When did you guys maybe realize or notice that there was a different level of chemistry with Stevens and Douglas? Because you look at like the Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express, like every time they went out, they tore it down, and it seemed like throughout the years, no matter what, you guys just you 4 guys just have a chemistry that you guys will, no matter the arena, whether there's 50 people in the crowd or 5,000, you guys are going to put on one hell of a match. So when did you guys kind of figure out, like, okay, these guys might be a team that we could work with and have great matches for a long time?
We probably felt it before TNA even existed. Same as I had the history with Storm. Once we were together, we were doing a lot of we were going around the horn with the Naturals, man. We went everywhere. And then even once we got into TNA, then we were traveling the country wrestling those guys. So we went everywhere with them. And I have to, chalk it up to chemistry. We definitely had great chemistry with them. And we knew that going in. Those are the kind of guys that we could go into a match and not have anything set up or planned or anything like that. Those are guys we could go out and same thing. We could do great wrestling matches, but you get there. It's a little bit more lenient on indies. So, if we wanted to take it out to the crowd, I can't tell you how many times James Storm and Chase Stevens were out in that crowd just fighting at the concession stand. They were tipping over garbage can. It was crazy. So, yeah, we went everywhere with those guys. So for us to be able to put it on a TV or a pay-per-view level, I'm glad they gave those guys an opportunity. And when they saw the great matches and the chemistry, they just kept going with it. So, yeah, I loved wrestling Chase and Andy. It actually started out, I don't know if a lot of people remember this, but it was when TNA first started out, Chase Stevens was part of the Hot Shots with Cassidy O'Reilly.
Oh, yeah.
We remember.
Yeah. So, and Andy was kind of a singles guy around the Nashville area. And but we were all friends, so we all hung out. And I don't know, I couldn't speak on what was going on with Cassidy, but they definitely went with Andy and Chase as the naturals, and they just kind of the same thing. I think they saw an opportunity to make something work, and they went with it. So yeah, I love all our matches with those guys.
Yeah, we do too. I mean, and I know,
Yeah.
so like we've just got barely to the end of 2004, and I know 2005, there's like at least a couple of pay-per-view matches that are just like, the unfortunate passing of Chris Candido. I know there's one like shortly before, I think also after, where like the emotion of all that, and you guys were part of that. So it was a lot of memorable moments.
Yeah, and just to keep the interest going, we wound up, I think it was towards maybe 2005, 2006, we wound up flip-flopping. We went on a heel run. Right. They were the big baby faces, and we still had great matches, so who would have ever thought, because America's Most Wanted were always the baby faces. They were the dreaded heels, and we flipped that and just it had great matches then, and it was really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's crazy. I can't wait to. I've seen a lot of the older stuff like that, but since we started the podcast, I've refrained myself from watching it again, like to refresh myself, because I don't want to spoil it. It's more fun, but I'm super excited to get to 2005 and 2006. That's like peak TNA fandom for me, I feel like. So
yeah, it was hot then. We had a fun heel run.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So now, kind of wrapping up 2003, everything's kind of happened there. You had the huge feud with Swinger and Diamond, which definitely, I think, the highlight, at least for me. Now, in early 2004, James Storm gets injured, and you begin your first substantial singles run in TNA. And that essentially beginning with your first singles match with Jeff Jarrett on February 18th, 2004, which then eventually led to your first NWA World Title match on March 17th. So unfortunately, you ended up losing both of those matches against him. But how was it working with Jarrett for the title? And how were the interactions with him about these matches?
Yeah, it was an honor to be able to get in there with Jeff. I mean, he had obviously been the top guy for a long time. And, Storm goes out with an injury. And, a lot of times when that happens, man, I mean, the tag teams just get forgotten about. So I'm really glad that they decided to take me in a singles direction. And plus, it kind of gave me the confidence back that I can still do singles. I got so used to tag teams. So that really built up my confidence a lot. I was in there with, guys like, Ron Killings, Raven, AJ, but yeah, getting that little run with Jeff. And the thing is, the people were behind it. I didn't just come across, I don't think, as just one half of a tag team that the champ's going to demolish. I think people really bought into, especially that title match. They really thought that my dog.
At least it's not Peach this time, Dallas.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's
good.
He's not supposed to have. So, but yeah, we really had people believing that there was going to be a title switch, or that I was going to give him a run for his money, which I think I really did. So yeah, I love that. And Jeff had so much going on at the time, and we've all, I think we all know Jeff Jarrett, the worker, just one of the best. He's definitely a ring general. He can handle any situation he's in. But I did notice that in our matches, he's got so much other things to take care of that I wanted him to feel like he could put a little bit of trust into me. So when I went to him with ideas, he's taking care of everything with the company, doing his thing, running around like crazy. But once we get a chance to sit down, I think he trusted me to kind of put an outline together, and that's what I did. And so I went to him, gave him what I had, and he would fine tune or just touch up a few things, and we had a great match. So I'm really thankful that he put some trust into me instead of just adding more onto his plate. But and that was, like I said, that was a test for me, a test to be able to hang with somebody like Jeff Jarrett, a test to be able to be in a world title match. I mean, I grew up on NWA. That was big. So I really I took that as a huge step for me, and trying to put something together that the people would really get emotionally tied into. You know, take them on a roller coaster, and that's what I worked for. Jeff put his trust in me, and I thought we had some great matches.
Oh yeah, I think definitely, and I'm sure Bob will say the same. But like I think it was like the big title match. It was like, we really want Chris Harris to win this title. And mind you, it's funny because I haven't seen most of the weekly Wednesday night shows, so I'm watching a lot of them for the first time live on the podcast. And so I'm marking out as if I'm in the asylum, wanting this shit to happen, and then of course it doesn't. But
that's awesome, man. I love hearing that. It's
Yeah.
like you already know what's going on, but to be able to watch it and focus on it just sucks you in, man. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, this was that time, April 2004. You know, you were scheduled to have a cage match with Jarrett, and they were setting up for weeks. And I remember back in 2004, I'm 15, and you were the first guy that I was like 100% in on, like a TNA original. I was like, Chris Harris is going to win the title in the cage. I'm going to flip out. This is great. And then I think I was like refreshing one of the wrestling websites, and it was like Chris Harris shoulder got, attacked by Raven, and wasn't in the match. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's 9:30 at night. And I'm like, this guy is not even, what are they doing to me right now? So that was one of the first times I ever got really just pissed off about the TNA booking. Of course, the other one being when Raven didn't win the title. But my question,
sore subject.
Yeah, that's not, I know that's a sensitive subject here on the podcast. But my question for you really is regarding the cage match. Getting, I guess, essentially pulled from it in favor of AJ to win the title from Jeff Jarrett. When was that kind of told to you? Like, when did they say, "Hey, Chris, we're pulling you from the main event"? What was your reaction to it? Did Jeff communicate anything with you? And I know also, I don't mean to continue to ramble on here, but there has been reports that Russo had wanted to put the title on you, and then that was nixed. Is there any recollection of that?
Well, a lot to go over here.
Yeah,
I'll have to say first that you're not the first one where that's you're not the only one where that's the first time you got pissed off.
I tell you, my blood is boiling just even thinking about it, because like this was a perfect time for like right before TV. Not that it was announced yet, but I was like, Chris Harris is about to win the title. You have a fantastic look. You're young. You could go. And I'm like, let's go. Let's get the belt off Jarrett. He's pissing me off anyway. I'm 15. Let's go with Chris Harris. We can do it. And I was refreshing WrestleView.com. I was like, come on, nothing. I was like, couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I've learned, I had an idea then, and then I have learned over the years that I believe they were going to pull the trigger with me. And that's been more from, I think it's been from Vince's mouth. He's told me himself, and I believe he's been very vocal about it, that was a direct, I can remember him saying the words to me, that we have built this story so well that we have to go in that direction. And I was just trying to ride the wave. I mean, because I remember doing a lot of promos, a lot of vignettes leading up to this cage match. And of course, we had the King of the Mountain and all that leading up to it. So that with the other guys, but then they went in the direction with Jeff and I. And I remember doing promos like the old school WWF, where the cage is in front of you and I'm holding on to the cage and, doing promos in front of the cage. And I was just excited to do that and to see the direction they were taking with it. But I want to say, I guess the best thing is I want to be a company man. So whatever direction they want to take, I'm going to go with. But I did not know about that until the day before. I was actually at Bob Ryder's apartment in Nashville. Of course, the show's the next day, so I was down there. I was very close with Bob, so I was at his place, and I got the phone call, and it was Jeff and Dutch Mantell, and they proceeded to tell me the direction they were going to go. That I was not even, of course, I'm thinking this whole time about what to do in the match, and then to find out that I'm not even in the match. And, they were going to go with AJ. With none of this at all, anything I say is directed towards AJ because you can't go wrong with AJ. But yeah, I was devastated. I was disappointed. I felt like I'd really worked hard for this, and it was working. Since what I've been told, I think when we all leave on the week before, the plan was to go with me. And then by the time they come back, maybe, I don't know, I got it. Let's see, the pay-per-view's on Wednesday, and I got the call Tuesday night. So maybe they had a production meeting Tuesday, and that's when they decided that. So, yeah, it was an awful feeling. Like I said, I try to be a company man and go with whatever they want, but my emotions were involved in that. So I was very, very emotional about that. And then the next day, when I find out, okay, how are we going to do this? When they were telling me that I was going to be taken out by Raven, which I did have the program with Raven. So I can see that part. But when he was going to take out my shoulder and I'm not even going to be in the title match, and this is one of those things where, you're probably just supposed to keep your mouth shut. But I questioned how we were going to do it. And I said, I don't care what shape my shoulder is in. I'm going for the world title. I would walk out there with crutches if I had to get in that match. And I said, how am I doing? I believe we did a vignette where I'm telling Russo, I'm out, but put Storm in,
Right.
So it's like I'm accepting the fact that I'm not in it, when in my mind, the wrestler's mind, maybe, you could even call me, I guess, being a mark for myself. Maybe just, I was like, there's nothing that you could do that would keep me out of that title match. And I remember Jeff got, he got pissed at me. There was a little heat there where because he took it as me questioning him. And that's just something you don't do. I mean, you got to go with the program. This is what they want, and that's what I have to do. So, yeah, we went in that direction. And then, to see that AJ even wound up winning it, that was kind of a surprise to me, where I was like, wow, I thought maybe they saw that the story had to go with me, but they didn't want to go in that direction. So it was going to stay on Jeff, but they went ahead and changed the belt anyway. So I was a little confused with that, but I tried to do the right thing. I remember because after we did I was out in the ambulance, but I was still there. I was still at the show, and I made sure that when AJ came back from that match, I wanted to be the first guy behind that curtain to shake his hand. So I wanted AJ and I had always we always had a great friendship, huge respect for each other. So I wanted him to know that no matter what emotions I was feeling, it was not directed towards him at all. So I shook his hand and I said, congratulations, and left it at that. But I was upset about it. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell. I wasn't in the meeting, so I don't know why they decided. I was under the impression that, like you guys had mentioned earlier, we were getting ready to go to TV. So in the long run, they wound up putting it back on Jeff. And so what I had thought they were leading to is I knew that going into TV, they wanted the belts on the prime people because we were going to go to a whole new audience. And so
Right.
they wanted to go with Jeff being the world champion. He's got the bigger name out of everybody. We had done well with ourselves. So that once Storm was healthy, they went back with us getting the belts for the tag teams. And then they actually took AJ back to the X division. They put the X division title back on AJ because they felt like that's where the belts should be for us to go to a whole new audience. That I completely understood. But if they were going to put it on AJ and then take it back and put it on Jeff, yeah, I was a little confused as did I do something wrong? Why couldn't we have kind of given the people what they wanted and give even if it was a short title reign? I think with the story we were telling, where Jeff was saying I wasn't ready because I'd never had the title before, so they were going to take a chance on me. I thought that was a great story where I was saying I am ready, and Jeff saying you're not ready. And even for that title, the title match we were talking about earlier that I lost, You talk about thinking people thinking I was going to win. I even had my family there. That's how big of a deal that was. They came down to Nashville for that show, and I think once Mike Tenay starts talking about my mother and my family, my brother, my sister being in the front row, everybody that's trying to figure this out, they're going, oh my God, they're good. Wildcats winning the title, and then take it away from them. That's emotion, man. So
yeah.
There's kind of the inside of it. I don't know the whole explanation, but we went with it. That's the direction we went. I'm very thankful that I had the opportunities that I did with that, and that's some of my greatest memories is that whole run with Jeff and the names I mentioned before for that NWA World Title. So it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, as a viewer, it was one of the most frustrating things, as I said before. And then having to come back, 10, 15 years later, since I last watched it, to watch it again.
Relive
and then, yeah, and like you see, like the first match between you guys, like the audience, they obviously like loved you and AMW, but I feel like they kind of were like, oh, come on, Chris, we know it's Jeff. This is going to happen, right? And then we saw them get into it. The second match, they wanted you to win that belt.
Oh yeah.
They were that March show. It's like, yep. And then we were like, as soon as they announced the cage, we're like, Chris is getting it.
We were like, that's gotta be
like,
it.
How do you not do it? And then everything you're saying about the injury and whatnot, it just seemed, again, as a viewer, like if you were to just storm out of that locker room in a sling and then still beat Jeff Jarrett for the belt, even if you got beat down for 10 minutes and you still won it, because of the story, we would have, as a fan and as a viewer, we would have gone nuts about it compared to like an ice cold feud with AJ where it's just like, okay, let's go do AJ.
Yeah, I mean, that's one great thing I have to say about Vince Russo. He is a great storyteller, and the way we were telling that story for weeks, I mean, we were telling it for weeks leading up to that. So for everybody to be taken on that emotional roller coaster, and we finally get to that, and to not give him that climax, that's why I think Vince would tell you himself, he's like, I wrote it to where, yes, we were going in that direction and give it to him. So to take it away from everybody, including myself, that's a kick to the gut, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy too, because as you kind of already mentioned, so obviously Styles wins it, but then not too long after, Ron Killings wins it in the Deadly Draw match, just before Jeff Jarrett wins it back in the King of the Mountain match. So it's crazy how like boom, 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 right before the debut of TV, which, as you kind of noted, they wanted to put the belts on the known names, the bigger stars, so that people, new audiences would recognize these guys or come to love them, I guess, in the case of like AMW. But do you think that I feel like at this time, I guess, is a good way to start this, is Jeff Jarrett is essentially beating everyone that he fights. So do you think that there was any resentment by some of the younger talent, I guess including really yourself, about his dominance at the time with the NWA title?
Living through it, I would say there probably was. I mean, there was talk in the back, and Jeff's heard all this, so there was talk,
I'm sure,
where, like, hey, it's become the Jeff Jarrett show, and hell, I think I even did a part of that story. I did a promo saying that he's turned it into the Jeff Jarrett show. Mm-hmm. We were kind of bringing it on camera, but when you look back on it, and I think a lot of us have heard some explanations from Jeff. I mean, who do you trust more than yourself? When you're putting the company together and you're running it, and you're signing talent and going through contracts and things like that, you have to put a lot of faith into who you're going to put in that top spot. And I think that was just a safe bet for Jeff. Going all the way back to the first champion, Ken Shamrock huge name. To put the NWA World Title on him, I think that was a great call for them to do that. And then you just kind of start working the programs from there. So for Jeff to have that belt, I looking back, I don't think it's such a bad idea that we did at the time. We're always like, well, let's build up new talent and let's, Jeff pass it on to somebody else. Well, I mean, he did that at times, but then of course it would always go back to him. So that made us all question that then. But
right.
I think it was just a safe bet. And then he would every so often, I think he did with AJ and a few others where they would conquer the king of the mountain. They would conquer him, and then he would just get it right back. Think about it. That's very similar to what they did with Flair, back in the day. Flair would give it away, and but he would fight back and take the title back. So I think that was just kind of a little pattern that Jeff was following at the time, and and we would, I guess he would test different people as far as who to put it on and what direction to go. So living through the moment, there was probably some resentment from a lot of people, or at least questioning it. I may have questioned the experience that we just went through, but I wasn't so much of a vocal about it because I was concentrating on what we were doing with the tag team. So, but I think a lot of guys probably looked at it that way. But I think you got to put yourself in Jeff's shoes. When guys are coming in and out, and you don't even know if this guy's going to be here next week or in 6 months, or trying to go in those directions. So, I think that's just Jeff probably did what a lot of us would have done.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think he's even gone on record saying that you got to be able to trust yourself. You can only trust, as you mentioned, you can only really trust yourself, and especially in that era of what they were dealing with contract-wise. June 2004. It's been 2 years, and then you guys finally get a national TV deal with Fox Sports Net. What was the feeling in the locker room about getting the TV deal? Because it seemed like on a weekly basis it was being reported it's the end. They're never going to get enough money. Panda comes in and I guess bails out the Jarretts. But we finally get a deal on FSN. What was your reaction amongst the guys in the back of finally getting a TV deal?
Oh, it was huge. We had heard those rumblings. Right after day one, people were saying this company isn't going to last, and it would just we just kept pulling through, for whatever they had to do to keep us going. We were in support of that. So, 2 years into it, we hear the deal about Fox Sports, and some people may look at it, well, that's not, you're not going to get that many more viewers on it. But first off, any TV deal is going to be great. You are going to get more viewers, and it's going to help build for what eventually would be our monthly pay-per-views. But we were just so happy we were going to be able to be seen on a weekly show, and not only that, but Fox Sports Net. That's Fox Sports One, whatever it was called, but that's sports oriented. So it's not a sports entertainment channel. They were legit. So for them to have a deal with those guys, and we were going to have I think it was just a 1 hour show at the time, but to have a show on that, and of course you're going to have to cram a lot of stuff in that 1 hour, but I think they brought some legitimacy to it, and really helped us put us on the map to keep growing. So that was just one of the, I look at it as that was one of the steps in the growing of TNA, to get that TV deal. We were super excited about it, man. We knew how big of a deal it really was.
Were you guys concerned at all about the time slot? Because I remember here in New York, it was Fridays at 3. So I'd have to run from school to catch it on time. Was that ever a concern for you guys?
And I feel like it switched so many times. I think, it was an afternoon show. I think maybe we had a middle of the night show at times. Or maybe that was a replay. I can't remember. But that's something you have to work for. When they first put you on, you're going to have probably a shit time slot, and just kind of go from there. And I guess that's where the ratings come in. And eventually, hopefully you just get on a better time slot, better day. I don't even remember what days we were on. Fridays. It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So we were just willing to take what we could get. And it's one of those things where, here, this is what you're presented, and we'll work from there. And we have to be able to put on a great show, get enough viewers in to where the channel can say, okay, we're willing to give you a better time slot, or eventually more time, or just things like that. But you have to earn that. So that we were willing to get out there. I mean, we had the talent to do it. We just had to put some interesting TV on.
Yeah, definitely. Now, and on that first episode of Impact, you and James Storm finally teamed back up, and you ended up winning the tag team title. So this is in June 4th. You guys haven't teamed up since February 4th at this time. And it was on Explosion. So on a weekly show even, it's been a while. So you ended up defeating Kid Cash in Dallas, which ironically enough is my name too. But so how did it feel to be finally back as a team with James Storm?
Great. It was a shame we lost some time, but as I said before, I got to live another dream, working with the NWA world title. But this was along those lines of, okay, Jeff was going to be world champion. AJ was the X Division champion. Instead of us going in as champions, why not show that first show and have a title change on the show? So I thought that was great booking. For those that did know, America's Most Wanted, they were with us, and we were in a whole new. That was when we were doing the TV out of Orlando. So we went down there and had a whole new audience, man. And for us to go in there, and just set it off with a blast, man. Kick off the TV the right way, do a title change, and people were with us. It was exciting. I think it was really exciting to get the belts again. Cash and Dallas were great opponents. I mean, you got the big guy in there. He was still learning at the time. Of course, nice veteran now. And Cash was super talented, man. So those guys, did the favor for us and put us in that spot. But I thought it was very exciting. I'm glad they saved that title change until the first Fox Sports Net show.
Yeah, I mean, that was we've really enjoyed the Kid Cash stuff. But speaking of Kid Cash, around this time he had some explosive interviews on various internet wrestling shows where he was bashing talent. And he would name drop guys like AJ Styles, America's Most Wanted, in the company in general too. But did these comments ever get back to you, or any of the guys involved? Was there ever any kind of confrontation? I know he's gone on record now saying he was really trying to get fired because he didn't want to be there anymore. But were any of these comments brought to your attention, and was there any confrontation for it?
Yeah, I'd heard. I don't know if I heard him right then or what, but I definitely know about him. But yeah, he. I don't know why they just didn't let him go. If he wanted, who wants somebody that doesn't want to be there? Yeah, there was a period of time where Kid Cash was a very bitter guy. Wasn't the greatest to get along with. Kind of walked around with a chip on his shoulder. Thought he was better than everybody else, and he certainly thought he was better than what he was being portrayed at. So I first have to say I've seen him since. I think he's a different person. Even he would say that he had a bad attitude back then. But yeah, he would for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. I couldn't really explain why he hated the company. But yeah, he had name dropped. I agree. I mean, I heard a lot about AJ, and I heard a lot about us, where he would just be very bitter about the way they were bringing up stars like us, and maybe he felt like he was being held back. I'm not sure, but yeah, he was never shy about going out there and saying what he wanted to say, and I always felt like, if the guy hates it that bad, then, let him go. If he wants to go somewhere else. I think eventually that is what happened. He went to WWE, but yeah, but in the ring, man, I mean, you can't take anything away from him. Kid Cash is a huge talent. I think he did a lot for that X division. Maybe he thought he should have been in the heavyweight division. I'm not sure, but he did great for that. And then, he took Dallas along, and I'm sure Dallas learned a lot from him. Lance, I'm sure he learned a lot from hanging with Cash. So them being as a tag team, put the belts on them. They got a little run with it. So yeah, can't take anything away from Kid Cash's talent. But yeah, he did run the company and certain individuals in the ground. And I don't know. I mean, it's just I guess we all just kind of looked at it like, you asked about the feedback in the back. I mean, it just got to the point, I guess, where it was like, oh, that's just cash. I mean, who's,
Right.
if anybody's going to say anything to him, it needed to be the company. If any one individual was to go to him, he would take that as a confrontation and it would just blow up from there. So that's not the direction to go. But yeah, I love running into him now. I mean, he's just he's a different person, and he's just great guy.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, we're pretty big fans of Kid Cash, but sometimes some of the quotes we were like,
yeah, they were vicious.
Yeah.
They were vicious.
Now, during this time, you guys were working both in Nashville and Orlando. So you did the weekly pay-per-views, you'd fly down to Orlando, you do the Impact tapings. What was the different mindsets between working both the Nashville crowd versus the Orlando crowd? So, of course, you have like, really for you, it's like a home base. And then Orlando is, it's a theme park crowd and, some diehard wrestling fans who will come out to those.
Personally, I would have to say, man, well, not just personally. I think this goes around the whole group. We just looked at it as I was saying before about going to the TV show. We were expanding. The company was getting bigger.
Right.
That was a huge factor. Not only, we get a TV deal, but hell, now we're going to a different city to do this. So now the company, we're a traveling company. It was just a really big deal, man, because, we were doing the pay-per-views on Wednesday nights. Of course, we'd all hang on Wednesday nights and be very happy with what we're doing and what we created. But then, going to Orlando. So at that time, the schedule was Wednesday pay-per-view and then go down Thursday and film Thursday, maybe Friday. I can't remember what we were doing. It might have just been a Thursday. But yeah, we were all, it was just interesting. We, the whole company meeting at the airport early Thursday morning. We're all pretty much taking over the airplane. You can imagine what some of the other passengers were thinking when probably 90% of the plane is full of a bunch of crazy wrestlers. But yeah, we would we'd take off going to Orlando, get there early, and do the same thing that day. So it was a huge deal for us. We loved that schedule, and then of course getting our name out there from the pay-per-views, from the TV, then and then have the weekends open. Of course, TNA was very open about us working other places, to be able to make some income. So we would do the Wednesday pay-per-view, Thursday TV, and then be able to go out on indies Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever anybody could get. So it was all our doing, but we would make ourselves have that kind of schedule. So where we were, traveling all over the place. So it was really kicking into gear, man. It was a new, fun, exciting time for TNA.
Awesome.
You were also part of the first ever 6 sides of steel cage match on July 21st, 2004 with the Naturals. How does it feel to be part of so many historic moments so early in the TNA history? And then also, which do you prefer, 4 sides or 6 sides?
Oh, yeah, again, just a huge honor for the company to put that faith in us. And we were talking earlier about our matches with the Naturals. Obviously, that got enough attention to where they were comfortable putting us in the first 6 sides of steel, which I think a lot of people associate the 6 sides with going on to Fox Sports, which is when it started, but that did transition over to the final days of Nashville. So we were still 6 side. We were going 6 sides there too. So yeah, that was huge deal. I loved being in there with the Naturals. I think we had a really good story going with those guys, and I think we had Team Canada involved in that. A lot of the tag teams were in there, so we were. I've always loved the focus that TNA gave on tag teams. Really helped put them on the map. As far as which match, I was against the 6 sides at first. I remember the first time I went to Orlando and saw the 6 sides. I was like, I was a traditionalist, so I was like, why are we doing this? And Why are we messing with what works? And, all the arguments you can think to go against it. But people have asked how we adjusted. I think everybody adjusted just fine. It was not too much harder. It was not hard at all to get in there. You get in there, you run the ropes a little bit, get used to the turnbuckles, just things like that. I mean, you have to change up your timing a little bit, but I think we all adjusted pretty well with that. And but yeah, it was a whole new thing, man, to come up with a cage match for 6 sides. That was going to be something really different. So, and go back to TNA being innovative, coming up with something like that. So, I think once you're in a cage match, it's also different anyway that I never really thought about. I mean, that's a good question. I never really even thought about. I think about the ring itself, but I don't think about the cage itself. 4 or 6, I mean, getting rammed in, it hurts no matter what.
Yeah.
I would say that the 6 sides is probably a little tougher, just because I'm trying to explain, like, the ropes are tighter in 6 sides because you have 6 different sides. And so the cage itself, not as much give. So when you're getting slammed into that, while the 4-sided cage may give a little bit, I mean, like I said, it still hurts, but that 6 side, that didn't give as much, man. You're getting rammed into. Just think of a really tight fence getting slammed into that. So it was definitely a lot different. And then same with the turnbuckles, instead of having a 90-degree angle, it's spread out a little bit more. So I know a lot of the X Division guys probably had to change up their style a little bit. And same thing, if you're crazy enough, as we did, crazy enough to go to the top of the cage, it's harder to stand up there. Just take a look at what Elix Skipper had to go through. I mean, he gets a lot of credit for the move he did, but he struggled getting up there. I mean, He struggled enough to where I was telling Daniels, I was like, what else are we going to do? Because he ain't going to make it over here. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of differences, but being in a cage, it's, you just change up your whole strategy anyway. So it didn't really matter, but the 6-sided cage is definitely a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. We just have a few more questions for you. We just want to be respectful of your time, of course. We appreciate
no problem, man. No
everything. Definitely appreciate you being on the show. So on September 8th, 2004, that's the final weekly pay-per-view. That's the Date with Fate, Hardy versus Jarrett. And you guys leave Nashville. It's done. So what was the feeling officially being gone? So now it's not really, going to another city, just, the one night a week. Now you're totally leaving Nashville behind, at least for TNA, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's we all knew that it was a step in the right direction. But yeah, we were leaving where we started. We knew it had to be done. We were all excited about, moving on. And I don't remember that you probably have the dates, but, we were on our way to going to Spike. But yeah, I think probably the Nashville fans more than anything. I think it was probably so hard on them because that's where we started. They supported us from the beginning. Now we're abandoning them, going to Florida and Universal Studios. So it was definitely a change, but it's something that for the company to advance. It was something that had to be done. And it was better for us to film TV at a TV studio. So, yeah, a little kind of a bittersweet kind of thing, but it made it even better though the times that we did go back for whether maybe a Slammiversary show or something like that. It just it made it even better to go back and be able to perform in front of our original fans. So, yeah, but we just knew we were on to bigger and better things. So that's kind of how that worked.
Now, before Victory Road in 2004, back in the fall of 2003, the company announced that they were going to have Bound for Glory. It was going to be a three-hour pay-per-view headlined most likely by Hulk Hogan and Jeff Jarrett, but that did not end up happening. What did you think about at that time having a 3-hour pay-per-view? And was there any kind of nervousness about going that direction? And then also, since it hadn't happened once, would it maybe fall through again with Victory Road, or was it just a different company at that time?
You talk about just going to a 3-hour pay-per-view?
Well, this the whole idea of, so like Bound for Glory, Hogan was being reported as coming in. He had almost signed a contract, but he messed up his knee, quote unquote, messed up his knee, and then didn't kind of end up happening. So like, what did you think of that whole concept of, amongst you and the other wrestlers, about having a huge moment with Hogan potentially for Bound for Glory, but that falls through? What was kind of like the reaction to that?
Well, I was excited about it just because name value. I think across the board, we probably all knew that Hogan wasn't going to get in there and do some, 5-star matches and maybe the Hulk Hogan of old. I think he kind of had a second run with WCW. A lot of people thought he was done then, and he proved them wrong. He had a whole another run in WCW. So, I don't know the inner workings of that. I'm not sure what fell through. I know it was a huge deal when we found out that Jeff flew to Japan to crack that guitar over his head. So we really thought something was happening. It was just I think for the company as a whole to have the name Hulk Hogan attached to it was going to be huge, just for some recognition. So. I guess we were excited about that. Didn't know what direction they would go with that. Didn't know if, he was going to have matches or wasn't sure. But, we were excited that the name was going to go there. But I think we found out pretty quick that wasn't going to happen. So it didn't get drawn out. I think as quickly as we found out he was coming in, we found out that it wasn't going to happen. So, not a whole lot with that. So, but as far as a 3-hour pay-per-view, we were excited about that. Just to be able to, go from our 2-hour pay-per-view that wasn't getting a lot of views, and now we have a TV that can promote for a 3-hour pay-per-view. Yeah, we were all real big into that, man. We felt like, it was the big time. We were having 3-hour pay-per-views, and we were a part of it.
Yeah, it kind of heading into Victory Road. So that's kind of where we're at in our timeline. They show the first promo of the I can't think of his name off the top of my head, the guy who does the voiceovers and everything, and they did the.
Oh, he was awesome.
Oh my God, dude, I got goosebumps. Yeah. I'm not even joking. We were watching it, and I'm getting goosebumps listening to him talk about Victory Road. And at Victory Road, so spoilers to anyone who's actually trying to follow our timeline, but you end up you have a last team standing match with Triple X. So longtime rival. Huge. This is a huge match. November 7th, 2004, first 3-hour pay-per-view. Any significant memories of this match and the first pay-per-view kind of in general?
We knew it was big. And then we had started to start again and continue the whole program with Triple X. So maybe that was one of those things where we did so well before with a smaller amount of viewers. Now we have more viewers. Let's give it to them again. And I think that was even part of the selling point. I think there was a gap of about 15 months, and they were even advertising when we were leading to the 6 Sides of Steel. It was like a 15-month gap that they said 15 months later it's still going on. And we're going to get there with the last man standing. I don't know. It's hard to speak about a strategy for that because it was a different type of match. I don't think it went as well as we thought. There were some complications in that a lot of people don't know about. Storm actually wasn't there for a lot of the day. I think he had to. He found out his grandmother had passed away or something. So,
oh wow.
I think he may have had to leave and come back, and there may have even been he had to fly out and fly back. If I'm right, it was that day where he was gone a lot of the time. So I was trying to put a lot together with Elix and Chris myself, and then to top things off, Elix got hurt in that match where he wound up having a concussion. I don't think a lot of people know about that. So. That kind of threw a few things off in the match. So yeah, just it wasn't one of our better ones, but we've had plenty of great ones with those guys. So it was just you're not going to always have hit home run. So it wasn't one of our better matches, but I think we followed it up in that 6 sides of steel where, I don't think anybody was questioning that the last man standing anymore.
Yeah, I mean that match at Turning Point, I'd argue it is like the most infamous TNA moment. I mean that the Hurricane Runner off the cage is like, it's just insane to me. Like I still like watch it all the time, and hearing Don West like screaming and like Tim and Tenay like losing their mind over it is just like super cool. Now at the end of that match, the losing team had to split up. So it kind of ended up, the rivalry was done. Did you think that it was kind of time to be done with it? Were you disappointed that you guys were done with the feud with Triple X there?
No, I think we got as much out of it as we could. And they were ready to move on. I think, Chris was looking to do some more, back to the singles. So, but there was a little, this didn't go on long, but there was a little talk whether which team we were going to go with. So there was, for a little bit, there was consideration of, is this time to split us? But the fingers were definitely going in the direction of more on those guys. They were going to split them up and, see what they could do. I think Chris, like I said, Chris was definitely looking in a direction to get back to singles. So, no, we had a great program with them in Nashville, continued it on into Orlando, and then, finished off 2 great cage matches. So I think we had done everything we could do with those guys. I love those memories and the matches we had with them, but it was time to, finish it off.
In October 2004, which would be 2 months prior to the cage match, it was reported that AMW was sending out feelers to the WWE. Was there any discussions with the WWE, and was the mindset maybe at that point that you guys had accomplished all that you could, having been the tag team champions numerous times and losing out now on your biggest rival in terms of storyline?
I wish I could confirm those reports, but I don't really remember the timeline when we ever thought about that. I'm sure it was in the back of our minds. Maybe that was contract time, and we were just, seeing options. It's possible. I don't know for sure. But as much as I thought, there's still life in America's Most Wanted, I don't think we wanted to go anywhere. We saw the company growing. We saw the great things they were doing, and we wanted to be a part of it. So I don't think there was a lot of what ifs right then. If there was any searching at all, it was probably quickly shut down. And I think we were happy with TNA. We wanted to stay there and continue to go everywhere we could go with them.
Yeah, Dallas and I were talking like last week about it. Just the idea if you guys had jumped over to the WWE and just the amount of different fresh matchups. I even like fantasy booked having you guys have the feud with Shawn Michaels and Triple H instead of Cade and Murdoch. And I guess like neither of us really thought about it. We were like, oh my God, that would have been probably just insane to see.
No, fantasy booking is awesome sometimes, man. And we could have been in that spot. That would have been great. It would have been exciting. I just feel like, and this goes for any time, whether it was 04, 06, 07, anything, if we would have ever switched, I feel like they would have ran with us for a short amount of months, split us up, feuded, right, and then we'd have gotten lost in the shuffle. So I'm glad we never went, and I just think that would have been a destruction of America's Most Wanted. So we had a lot more life to do, man, and continued it on in TNA.
Yeah, I think we absolutely agree with that. And then we wouldn't have gotten the 05-06 heel run with you guys, and wouldn't have missed out on a lot. We're wrapping up here, but the TNA prided itself on being different than for the first couple of years. And then maybe when they got to TV, it was a little bit different with the new faces of professional wrestling. But what was the reaction when they would bring in guys like Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and then the one-shot appearance of Randy Savage? Did you feel like they didn't maybe trust the young guys to bring in that, or did you understand, bring in veterans compared to
no, I think we were understanding about it, because especially when you're starting out. I mean, back in 2002, you need some name recognition, but TNA was going to be that company that was going to build some homegrown stars, and they did. They were still building, but you still need something to catch some attention. And whether it was Hall and Nash, they were fresh off not only WCW, but they had a WWE run in there. Bringing Savage in, of course, I'm biased for Savage because he was my guy growing up.
Absolutely.
So I loved having him, and I know they had some plans for him. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. But yeah, I think it's always good to bring in some names like that. They had Hall and Nash coming in. I think Jeff did work with them, and I think that main event of the Six Sides of Steel at Turning Point, I think was those three against Jeff Hardy, AJ, and Savage. So yeah, I mean, that's big names to bring in, to get some eyes on it. So that's the name of the game, guys. You got to get the eyes in, and they know those names, so they'll tune in to watch them. But in the process of watching them, they'll watch Hall, Nash, and Savage, and Hardy, Jeff Jarrett. But in those times, then you're going to see a cage match with America's Most Wanted and Triple X. They may not know those guys, but they know that was a damn good match. So they're going to watch them next time. They're going to stay tuning in. And this AJ Styles guy, he's awesome. So I want to come back and watch him. I mean, that's the name of it. That's what we got to do. So yeah, I'm all for. That's a personal thing. I'm all for bringing those guys in because that. Standing them up with the talent that was coming up. I mean, you can't hold down an AJ Styles or America's Most Wanted. So, bring in as many eyes as you can, get in as many viewers as you can, and then they'll catch the rest of TNA and see how great the product really is.
Well, it's kind of like the WCW mentality too, towards the end, where you might be drawn in by Hogan, but you're leaving talking about Booker T and Rey Mysterio. And I think that's the case with TNA. You come in, you want to see Hall and Nash, but you're leaving like Chris Harris, James Stewart. What the hell? I need to know what's going on there, and that's how you build upon it. So yeah,
right,
yeah, man, that's it.
Well, and really, like I said in the beginning of the show, that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, I came to TNA because Jeff Hardy went there, and as a kid, I loved Jeff Hardy, and now I left, and I'm going to argue I'm one of the biggest TNA marks there is. I'm going to say it because my friends, I'm telling you, my friends would bully me all the time.
Don't be embarrassed about it. We love that.
I'm not embarrassed about it because I fucking love TNA. I always will. And I mean, honestly, Chris, it's been really an honor to talk to you on our show. I mean, it's been really, really great. And I hope you don't mind me saying this too, but I appreciate you telling us off air that you've listened to the show. I think that's phenomenal, and I really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate you not DMing us like Johnny Fairplay did, very angry about us when you listened to the show.
Oh, he would consider the source, man. Don't worry about the comments.
No. He
did listen to the show, and he was complaining about it.
Oh yeah, he listened because some of the Observer notes that we discussed, I think, took some shots at him, and he thought they were our words necessarily. And we got a couple DMs and some mean tweets. He tried to get Glenn Gilberti to fight us too, but it didn't work. Glenn follows us on Twitter too, so who knows? Maybe he's listened too. I have no idea. But
I wouldn't let the fair play comments bother you.
No, they didn't. In fact, it was more like, oh shit, Johnny Fairplay listened to our show. That's kind of cool.
No, I did listen, man. And the bottom line is, I appreciate you guys, especially going back. I mean, you're not just reporting on what Impact's doing now. You're going back and watching some of the things that made TNA what it is. It's been around over 20 years now. So I appreciate you guys doing that, and you going through, and you're not going to agree on everything. You're not going to think everything is great, and that's okay. I mean, that's your opinion. It's your podcast. So you guys can give your opinion on there, and not everybody's going to agree with it. I may listen to the show and may not agree with it, and actually, you may bring up points about the TNA show that I would agree with. If it's something you're not liking. So thank you for doing that, man. I mean, thank you for taking the time to watch the shows and going back, and that was some great stuff back then, starting out in 02, and it just got better, 03, 04. And I can't wait to listen and see what you guys think of the 05, 06 runs too. So thank you for doing that, man.
We do have to admit that we almost quit the podcast after episode 3 because it was a brutal episode.
It was a pretty rough show.
Our match?
No, just the whole. I don't know. It was just a really bad.
Maybe we were bad mentally at the time. I'm not really sure what was going on, but it definitely in the beginning was there were some bumpy shows, but man, once it picked up, I mean, like you just said, it only gets better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like literally as we were approaching the end of the pay-per-view era, I'm like, okay, this is when I like get dived in when I was younger. So I couldn't wait.
Keep in mind those early days. I mean, it was a feeling out process.
Absolutely.
It's some good. There was a lot of bad. So Just feel it out and see what's working and go with that.
That's right. It was the Wild West. That's what I've heard a lot of people describe it as. So. And I guess my last thing here is I got to give you your plugs here. So if you guys don't already follow Chris Harris over on Twitter, he's at AMW Wildcat. And then over on Instagram, that's where we connected at AMW Wildcat Chris Harris. And do you have any other social medias that you'd like to plug or anything like that?
Man, I appreciate it. That's it. Got those in, and I have merch out there also. It's amwwildcat.com.
That's right.
No, you guys got it, man. I appreciate you plugging that.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you. And I hope that down the line here, as we continue our journey, maybe we can have you back on the show when we can discuss the later part of your TNA career as well.
That'd be awesome, man. Yeah, let me know if you want to discuss the heel run.
Oh, hell yeah.
My singles run in 07, whatever you guys get to, man. You know how to get a hold of me. So I'd love to come back on.
Awesome. Chris. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Dallas. And you guys have a great one.
You too, man. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Well, Dallas, that Chris Harris interview was fantastic. We learned so much from Wildcat and his mindset on stuff, his reaction to the title, the cage match, title match being taken away from him.
Yeah. I mean, it was super awesome. Super positive. Just super in depth with his answers, as you guys all just heard. I mean, that was super cool for us to do, and I'm incredibly thankful for the opportunity that we just got to interview. I mean, one of the biggest names in TNA history.
Oh yeah,
really.
Oh yeah, one of the literal homegrown TNA talent in terms of a national sense. And some people might be like, "Well, what about AJ?" AJ technically wrestled on Nitro. So he had that exposure in WCW in 2001. Doesn't count. Chris Harris might have been on Worldwide. He might have been on Worldwide, sure, but he wasn't on Nitro.
I was waiting for you to mark out about the Worldwide.
I almost did. I almost was like, yo,
Worldwide. No. That's right. WrestlingRecaps.com. Bob covers all that Worldwide and WCW Pro that you could ever think you needed, or more than you even knew existed.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
That was crazy.
Yeah, super, super awesome. I think we really covered his career from 2002 to 2004, which is our timeline currently. And we're on the edge of Victory Road. And when this episode gets posted, it is not Victory Road yet, but we're almost there. We haven't even recorded Victory Road, actually, so it's actually pretty exciting. But that all being said, we might have a few more surprises up our sleeves coming later this year, I'd even have to say. I don't think it's going to dip into next year. I think it's going to be this year, potentially. Some other really great things for you guys. We did just drop a new T-shirt, which I've been teasing on the podcast in future episodes, but it wasn't approved yet. It is a potentially sports entertainment extreme inspired Cross the Line T-shirt. You can find that at prowrestlingtees.com/crossthelinetna. And yes, Chris Harris liked the post on our Facebook page. So if Chris Harris approves of it, you guys should probably check it out as well. And also, if you do not already follow us, be sure to on Facebook at TNA Cross the Line Pod. Go follow us on Twitter for all of your favorite TNA needs. Post every single day at Cross the Line TNA. And follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you would please leave us a review. And if you guys leave more reviews, we might do more interviews. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, I think we absolutely have to get Chris Harris back on for his 05, 06 runs. And as he even mentioned, part of his, or most of 2007, I believe, is there as well. So, is he there? He might be all of 2007. I think he leaves 2008.
That sounds right to me. Fuck it, dude. We're still like technically on the show, so we're doing live research. Okay, he does. Oh yeah, because he does have even one match in 2008, the very beginning, January.
Okay. And
then in WWE, he makes his debut on ECW in a dark match on March 11th. He goes on TV on July 8th. But he also is, it looks like, in FCW even. So, he's in one match. That's one match. I mean, that's in June. So it's even after the other appearance.
Yeah. No, that was, I'm like on a buzz right now because, not that I had any doubt, but, sometimes wrestlers kind of leave you like disappointed or whatever. And I'll tell you right now, 15-year-old Bob, who was a huge fan of Chris Harris, is coming out tonight because I am a huge fan of Chris Harris.
There you go.
And having him be kind and offering up as much insight and memories that he had, and spending almost 2 hours with us, really. That was,
I mean, definitely. I wanted to be respectful. I hope he wasn't wanting to kill us by the end when I mentioned it. But I wanted to let him know kind of we were getting toward the end there because we threw a lot at him, man.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say a lot of them were easy questions, So, I would say just like our interview with Goldilocks, our first bonus episode, which you guys should definitely check out in the archive. This was another successful interview on the TNA Crossline podcast, and I'm hoping it's the first two of many because this was a ton of fun. I mean, this was awesome.
Yeah, it was just incredible. So, if you guys listening have any kind of maybe requests. Maybe do you guys want us to maybe reach out to Jeff Jarrett? Maybe you guys want us to reach out to, I don't know, Kid Romeo. If they appeared in TNA, why not?
I don't know. You guys send us names. If you're interested, let's try it out.
Tag your favorite TNA wrestlers and be like, hey, get interviewed by Bob in Dallas.
That's right.
And we'll be more than happy to do it.
Tag our page. And there's one more thing I want to say that I actually wish I remembered during the show, but we were, like you said, riding such a high with these questions.
Yeah.
In the beginning of this episode, Chris Harris was kind enough to shoot an intro for us. So I wish I got the chance to thank him for that, but it is in the beginning of this episode, and I'm super appreciative that he was able to do that for us. So that will be now in our rotation in the beginning of all of our episodes.
That's fantastic. Also, if you guys are interested in some of the Tennessee wrestling prior to TNA that Chris Harris was involved with, that's right. It's a second plug for our friend of the show, Brian Turner. Head over to the Brian Turner VHS Rehab, and there are countless Chris Harris matches, and I'm sure over the next several weeks there will be several more. He has matches with Air Paris, James Storm, and several others that were well known in the Tennessee area, and that Brian Turner has apparently thousands of VHS tapes, and he's converting them one by one.
That's right. That's just another great friend of the show that we have made. And you know what, Bob?
On YouTube. I don't know if I'm assuming everybody knows YouTube. Of course it's on YouTube.
And I'm going to say it. Chris Harris, newest friend of the show.
Absolutely.
And
I think, honestly, I'm going to go buy a t-shirt.
I'm about to go on his website too. Let's split some shipping, Bob.
Let's do it. Let's go. I think that's awesome. Great guy. But all right, guys and gals who are listening, which I doubt there's women, but guys, let's wrap it up here. And as we continue on to Victory Road, it's coming up soon. So stay excited. I'm excited from this interview. Let's watch some Impact tonight. All right,
let's do it. Let's watch his return to Slammiversary in 2022.
Let's go. Let's do it. All right, guys. We'll see you next time around. Until then, for Dallas Gridley, I'm Bob Colling Jr., and this has been the TNA Crossline Podcast.
We find the defendants guilty.